So, so again, welcome everyone to this dreary Wednesday morning where we're going to talk about BAI, which is one of Hannah and my favorite things to talk about. It is great to see some familiar faces in the room, and it's great to see some new faces in the room as well. It definitely lets us know that our outreach is reaching the far stretches of Philadelphia, and we're really thankful for all of you that have joined us today. So the reason that we're here, and I hope that you're here today, is to learn more about being a work site for Bloomberg this summer. And I just realized that oh, I forgot to change. There we go. Worksite. Now we can get the show started. All right. So Bloomberg Arts Internship Summer 2024 Worksite Information Session. So as always, BAI in Philadelphia is powered by the Greater Philadelphia Culture Alliance, which Hannah and myself and our amazing team, and a wondrous grant by Bloomberg Philanthropies. So just to get started and dive right in, some of you may be wondering what Bloomberg Arts Internship or BAI actually is. It is an 8-week intensive program that connects rising high school seniors or current juniors with arts and culture organizations in Greater Philadelphia to provide valuable paid internship opportunities. Now, I'm going to stop right here because BAI is much more than just an 8-week intensive summer program. It is a school year program as well, but that comes a little bit later. So we're just going to focus on the summer right now, and we will get into the school year later on once we get the ball rolling with summer. And if you potentially become a work site, that's when we would reach out to you and start talking about the school year because it is slightly different, not too much different, but there are some nuances that are a little bit different from the summer program. But today we are solely focusing on the school year, excuse me, the summer program, and then we will talk about the school year program a little bit later. So, the goal of BAI is to ensure that participating students develop critical professional skills and prepare themselves for the workforce while supporting the city's vibrant creative industries. One of the unique things about BAI is that we specifically partner with arts and cultural organizations around the city to build workforce in those areas. We're one of the only internships in the city that does that. And the purpose is to create this community around arts and culture and to continually give back and allow the arts and culture scene in Philadelphia to grow. The way we do this is through partnerships with our program partners who develop and lead meaningful curriculum that focuses on our four educational pillars. So this year we have four program partners. See if I get this correctly. Philadelphia Education Fund, Mighty Writers, First Person Arts, and what is the other one? Hello Arts. Yes, thank you. So those are the four program partners. Each one of those program partners is responsible for one of the four pillars that you see on your screen. And our interns go through professional development sessions on Monday, and they kind of rotate through all four program partners. It's kind of like school, but the program partners are really, really good at creating really engaging curriculum, and we're really happy for those program partners. Our four educational pillars: post-secondary readiness, so making sure that the interns have the skills they need to be successful right after graduation, whether they're going into a career, going into the workforce, or going off to college or university. We want to make sure that they have the skills that are necessary for them to be successful and also make sure that they are a step ahead of their peers. The next one is self-advocacy, making sure that our interns are able to speak up for themselves in a professional and respectful manner. We want to make sure that they are able to say, hey, this is what I need. This is what I want. How can you help me get here? How can you help me get the things that I need? Really making sure that they feel comfortable speaking to their supervisors and people that are in charge or in positions of leadership. Self-actualization, helping the interns realize their skills, what they're good at, and what they can do, and what they're capable of. A lot of times, young people aren't really sure, like I'm good at this and I'm good at that, but I'm not really sure where all my strengths are. We try to help them navigate that. And then the final one is probably one of the most or dreadful excuse me, education pillars is public speaking. A lot of the interns do not want to get up in front of a small crowd, let alone a large crowd, and speak. But we make sure that we provide them with the skills to do that successfully. And you will see as we go through this presentation, there is a celebration which requires them to speak publicly. Now, a lot of people think that BAI, because it's an internship, the interns are just getting coffee, making copies, doing things like that. That is not what BAI is. And Hannah and I work tirelessly to make sure that that is the farthest thing from what this experience is for the interns. So BAI is a project or projects with an end goal that benefits the intern and the worksite. So when we start talking about the worksite application, you'll see that we pay really close attention to making sure that the project or projects that you come up with for your interns align with your organization's mission and also align with the interest of the intern. The next thing that BAI is, it's a partnership between the intern and the worksite to create a plan to achieve success. So you will be working alongside the intern. You'll be having conversations with them about what their goals are, what their needs are, what their desires are as far as an individual, as an artist, and you will help guide them through that discovery process through the work that they're doing in their project. One of the great examples of this is our one of our alumni from last summer. I think it was one of our first culture immersions was like, oh my gosh, I had this self-realization that I want to be a gallery owner. I want to own my own gallery. I want to curate exhibits. How do I do that? I didn't know that this was a career. What do I do? Um, and then Hannah started talking to her about it, and it just kind of snowballed. And she just opened her first show on the 22nd. Um, and she came up with the theme. She vetted her peers to create the art. She did everything herself with some coaching from Hannah and some other great supervisors. But she would not have been able to do that had her supervisors not heard what she was interested in and heard what she wanted to do and really coached her and helped her through that. Um, the last thing that, last but certainly not least, that BAI is its real world, real time learning experience that are geared toward preparing interns for post secondary life. This is the real world. And Hannah and I try to make sure that the interns have the most lifelike and real world experience. So there are times where we have really tough conversations with them and we say, hey, look, this behavior would not be accepted in a professional setting. You know, here's your chance to improve it, but understand if you did this in the real world, situations might not turn out like this. You would probably be fired, or you things happen. So we try to make sure that we are giving the interns the most life-like real-world experience as possible, and we can only do that with the help of the supervisors. So, on the contrary, things that BAI is not. It's not just administrative tasks with no end goal. So if you're like, you know what, our organization really needs our supply closet cleaned and organized, that's not a task for the interns. If you're like, oh, every Tuesday we have these intense meetings where none of us get to go and get a cup of coffee. We would love for interns to come in and be able to go to Starbucks and get us our coffee. That's not what BI interns are supposed to be doing. And being left alone. Like, oh, you know what? We have this task. I'm going to give it an intern, and then I'm going to not check in on them until, the end of the week. That is not what is supposed to be happening. It is a mentorship program where the interns are supposed to be working closely with the supervisor and kind of mimicking and following and learning like kind of like an apprentice. That's kind of how we envision the relationship between the intern and the supervisor. So yes, there are times where you can like leave them. You're allowed to go to the bathroom or take a call or do things like that and leave them on their own for some time, but definitely not like they clock in and they don't see you for the rest of the day. So those are just some differences between what some people think BAI is and what BAI actually is. Um, So this is a map that was created from by one of my teammates that shows all of the worksite locations, not all of them, but a large majority of the worksite locations from 2018 to 2023. Shout out if you see your organization on this map. It was impossible to fit them all on here and make it legible. So I apologize if you are looking for your organization and you do not see it. But we appreciate all of the work sites that have been with us. Some of them on this list have been with us since 2015, since BAI started in Philadelphia. Some of them are new as of last year, which is really, really great. And we are continually looking to grow our list of work sites. For those of you that have just joined us, thank you so much. Do not worry, this will be recorded and we will share it on social media and on YouTube. If you could put your name and organization in the chat so we can keep track of attendance, that would be greatly appreciated. So we did say that BAI for the summer is an 8-week intensive program. And this is what a sample week looks like. So on Mondays, the interns meet with Hannah and I, and we have our professional development, which is led by our program partners. For lack of a better term, it is school. That's the only way that we can set it up to make sure that all of the interns are able to meet the goals of the program. So Mondays from 10 to 4, the interns are in professional development. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, they are all yours. That is when they come to the work sites and they will be able to work up to 21 hours Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And on Fridays, we have our cultural immersions, which we'll get into in a few moments. But an entire week, the intern can work up to 35 hours. So 21 hours with you on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And on Mondays and Fridays, they get the remaining hours with Hannah and I through their professional development and cultural immersion sessions. Now, cultural immersion, some of you may be thinking, cultural immersion, that is a really, really funny term. It is a funny term for a grown-up field trip. At its core, that's exactly what a cultural immersion is. It's a grown-up field trip where we take the interns to visit arts and cultural sites around the city, organizations just like yourselves, for a behind the scenes look at how those organizations operate. So when the interns go in, they are not just going into a gallery and looking at the art that's on the walls. They're going behind the scenes. They're having conversations with the gallery owner, with the curator, to talk about, why this current exhibit is on display and the process of getting and vetting the artist and all of those things. And then they talk about why that gallery is important in the neighborhood, important in the community, important at in the city at large, and important for arts and culture globally. And so we really want to make sure that the interns are getting an experience that rivals what just going to these arts and culture organizations as a patron. We really want them to be able to see why they are important. So, for those of you who have been cultural immersion sites in the past, you know that there was a stipend of 1,500 for the sites that participated in that. We have been fortunate enough to increase that to $2,500 for a cultural immersion experience. And there's a few reasons why we've done that. One is inflation. We understand that everything is crazy expensive these days, including your time, and we wanted to make sure that you were compensated for that. But also this year we are planning on having 80 interns. So we want to make sure that organizations who invite all 80 interns plus Hannah and myself into your space, that you're being compensated for taking that large group and helping us manage them and create an experience that is unforgettable for them. So that is why we have increased the stipend for cultural immersions. Now, if you are a new worksite or you're planning to be a new worksite this summer, do not worry about being a cultural immersion site unless you really want to. They are amazing days, but it takes a lot of work. For those of you in this room that have been a worksite in a cultural immersion space, I'd be more than happy to open the floor at the end for you to talk about that experience. But for those work sites that are new, do not feel any pressure for being a cultural immersion site your first year. So now we're talking and getting into the nitty-gritty things about the application, the first step that you need to do in order to be a potential worksite. The application will probably take you about 25 to 30 minutes. There is some information in there that just helps Hannah and I make sure that your worksite is a good fit for the program. So just a brief description about your organization, your mission, and how your mission and your project plan to meet the educational goals are prepare interns for post-secondary life. There's some questions about staff, just number of full-time staff, the key responsibilities of your staff, the project or projects that you have in mind for our interns this summer. Now, I'm going to say this, just because you put a project in your application doesn't mean that you are beholden to that project. We understand that things change. Once you meet potential interns, you might say, hey, I met John during the job fair and he's amazing. And his vision and his goals for what he wants to do align with our organization, but not the project we had in mind. So I want to pivot and create another project. You are okay to do that. We just want to make sure that you are thinking with a project mind in your application and that you have something in the works or something prepared for the interns that you're not just kind of winging it and like, yeah, we'll take interns. And when they show up on the first day, you're like, yeah, I didn't think about the project part. So we understand that things change and your projects can change. We just want to see that you do have something in mind and that your organization does have the capacity to provide the interns with a great experience. And then the key project objectives. Why are you doing this project? What are the tangibles that you want the interns to be able to provide? How are you going to make sure that they're meeting their goals? How are you going to work with them to make sure that if they need to improve, how do you work through them with that? And then any previous skills or qualifications needed by an intern. This is really important because there are some organizations that say we want an intern that has a background in um, digital design. They need to be able to manipulate this program and that program. And we want to make sure that when we go through the pairing process, that we're not giving you an intern that doesn't have those skills and that where you're going to spend your 8 weeks just trying them to get them to the point that they needed to be when they came in. So letting us know any skills or qualifications that you require is really, really helpful when Hannah and I start doing the matching process. So this is a quick example, and I'm not going to read it out to you. You can take a look at it when I send out the PDF, but this is an example of InLiquid's responses to some of the questions in the application. You will see that it's not that detailed. You can get as detailed as you want. Hannah and I will not deter you from that. Some organizations just do bullet points. Some organizations write a couple paragraphs about what they're looking for. It does not matter. As long as Hannah and I are able to get the general understanding of your organization and what you're looking for, that's all that we ask for. So, there is no right or wrong way to complete this application. Just making sure that you give us as much information as you think we need in order to decide if your worksite is a best fit for this program, but also making sure that we are pairing you with the best interns to help you meet your goals. So, just so you kind of have a better understanding of why this program is so interesting for interns. Some of the benefits they get, I think, rival some of the benefits that we get as professionals. So the interns do get a prepaid septic key card. That septic key card is given to them at the beginning of the program, and we preload that with services so that the interns can travel around the city to and from their work site, to and from professional developments, to and from cultural immersions without having to worry about cost or anything. They get meals at every PD and cultural immersion event. So every time Hannah and I see the interns in person, we are feeding them. We feel that that is the most equitable thing for us to do to make sure that all the interns are getting meals. We do ask them about their dietary restrictions and try to make sure that we are ensuring that every intern gets a meal that meets their diet. We're not just ordering, hamburgers for everyone, making sure they want a veggie burger or they without buns, gluten free, all of those things, just to make sure that all of the interns feel that they are being heard and that their needs are being met. Um, BASI interns, which is new for this upcoming school year, BASI interns are going to receive a professional clothing stipend. So we want to make sure that we are not only giving the interns the skills to build their professional careers, but that we are providing them with clothing to make sure that when they're going into professional settings, they are dressed appropriately. We make sure that we give them a life-sustaining wage. And it's really important for the Culture Alliance and for Bloomberg Philanthropies that interns are getting a salary that sets them up for success. This year, we are very proud to say that the interns will be getting $17.53 an hour for going through this program. That is not money that comes from you. Do not worry. Our grant takes care of making sure that the interns' salaries are paid, and it also makes sure that we are able to pay Worksites for taking interns. So for every intern that you take, you do get a stipend of $1,000 that is paid out at the end of the summer once you complete your Worksite survey. Also, this year, which we were really excited, we piloted it last year, and the interns had 3 weeks of art therapy sessions with art therapy master students from Thomas Jefferson University. They liked it so much, and it was such an overwhelming success that we decided to make it for 7 weeks this summer. So every Friday at the beginning of the cultural immersion, master students from Thomas Jefferson University will meet us at our cultural immersion site, and they will have an hour to have group sessions with our 80 interns. And the last benefit is lifelong relationships with peers and professionals. So throughout this process, interns are coming in contact with students that they probably would never come in contact with. They're also coming in contact with professionals that they probably would never come in contact with. And they're able to build these relationships that last and that help them really hit the ground running after graduation. So, what do you need to know? The first thing that you need to know is that you will be having up to 21 hours per week of interaction with the intern. So when you're thinking about a project or projects, think about that time frame. Think about how long it may actually take, and if you feel that interns would be able to complete the project, given that they are only with you for 21 hours a week for 8 weeks. So that's something to really, really think about. Work days are Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Interns will not be on Worksite Mondays and Fridays. On Mondays and Fridays, they are with Hannah and I. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, they are all yours. Um, Interns should mainly interact with supervisors on record. So when you fill out your application, you'll be filling out who is the primary supervisor. If you have a larger organization that will have multiple people interacting with those interns, those group of people that you share with us, those should be the main people that the interns are interacting with. Not saying that they cannot talk to any other adults in your organization. You just don't put them in a room and say, if you're not a supervisor, you can't talk to them. It just means that the main people who are giving them feedback, that are in their space, that are working alongside them, are supervisors that we have on record. We ask that when you're communicating with interns, that you do so in a written aspect. Email is the best way just to keep a record of conversations, requests that you have had with interns. Please try to avoid texting with interns. We know that young people are very good at answering text messages, but very bad at answering emails. That's what we're trying to coach them through, is that professionally email sometimes is the better way to communicate. So we're really trying to make sure that interns are really utilizing their email. So we ask that supervisors really push that. Like if you want to say something, if you have a question, email me. If you're not gonna be able to make it, email me. Um, is Slack an option? I know some organizations have used Slack. Hannah and I would prefer email just because that way any kind of communication chain can be shared with us. If your organization does use Slack and there isn't a situation, we would just ask that you share the records with Hannah and I just so we can kind of get a full understanding of kind of what has happened. Also, if you use Slack, just making sure that you walk the intern through how to use Slack. Set it up on their phone or laptop so that they can use it comfortably. That's that's the only thing that we ask.
And a quick note on that, we won't be requesting all emails, interactions. That's not something that we typically do. It's only, circumstantial. So. Mhm.
Yes, only just in case there's like there's a situation where an intern didn't show up today. We were talking about them possibly not being here, but it was never confirmed. Like things like that is when we would ask for just to take a look at the records. Um, so for organizations that are hybrid, that is completely up to you and your intern how you work out what days they're going to be on site and what days they are going to be remote. So because they only have Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays with you, it could be that you say, all right, Tuesdays and Thursdays are remote. Wednesdays we are on site or vice versa. Or there are some organizations that say, we are remote for the majority of the 8 weeks. And in week 7 and 8, then we are in person for the 3 days that the interns are with us. That is something that you will work out with your intern, but then also let Hannah and I know so that we have an understanding of where our interns are, especially if they are going to be working from home. We need to make sure that they have the resources that they need in order to be successful in that setup. Um, we did talk about the $1,000 per intern. Um, so because we have 80 interns, we do ask that work sites take at least 2 interns. We understand that some work sites this works better. Some work sites only have the capacity to take 1 intern. And we would definitely not turn you away if you're like, you know what, we only have a full-time staff of 3, and we can literally only take 1 intern. We have organizations that have multiple departments and they take 6 interns. That is okay. We do not want to deter anyone from applying because you're like, you know what, we can only take 1 intern. That is okay. We just would like to make sure that the interns have another peer there with them. But there are many interns who are like, you know what, I got this. I can go by myself, and they feel very comfortable being the only intern there. So like I said, even if you do not feel that you could take 2 interns, please still apply. We would not turn you away if you say we can only take 1 intern. Um, the final thing that you need to know is that interns are not to be sent outside of the organization to complete work on their own unless they are with a registered supervisor. So we've had work sites before that have said, hey, you know what? We are putting signs up around the neighborhood to promote our event. We're taking our interns with us. That's fine as long as they have a supervisor with them as you're going out in the community. Interns should never be left to their own vices to say, hey, go post these posters around the neighborhood that you may not be familiar with. Just make sure that they are with you. Um, did I miss anything, Hannah, as far as things that they need to know?
No, I'm going to be typing out the final. I see that the final bullet point got cut off. So I'm just going to type that up and put it in the chat. Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so things that you need to provide. Once you fill out the application, Hannah and I will be in contact. And there are a few things that you do need to provide and before we can send interns to your site. The first thing is the 3 clearances for each supervisor that is going to be in contact with the interns. So that's FBI fingerprint, PA child abuse, and PA criminal background check. We need to have all 3 of those on record before we will send an intern to your work site. For those of you who are work sites from the past, we should have them. I believe we have a list of the dates that they expire. So Hannah and I will reach out to you if we need any revised. For those of you that are new, like I said, just making sure that all of the supervisors have those clearances, and then you send a copy to us. Um, when you're creating a project or projects, make sure that there is some kind of final tangible thing that the interns will have at the end of that project, either like a brochure that they created for an event or a new landing page to a website, something that they will say, this is what I created. We do have a celebration at the end of the program. This year it's going to be 2 days because we are going to have 80 interns, and there's no way that I'm going to force anyone to sit through 80 interns talking about their individual experiences. So we're splitting it up on August 15th and 16th. So it's going to be 40 and 40. You are not responsible to come both days. You are only responsible to come on the day that your interns are presenting. And we will make sure that a schedule goes out to say when your interns are presenting so that you can plan accordingly. But would not ask you to be there for both days. You are more than welcome to be there for both days if you want to, but it's not a requirement for Worksites to be there on both days. And the final thing that is very important, our job fair this year is on May 11th, and it's going to be held at Fringe Arts down on Columbus Boulevard. We ask that each worksite sends at least one representative. Our job fair is basically an opportunity for potential work sites to vet their interns and vice versa. So during our job fair, we ask all of the work sites to come. We invite all of the interns, and we're there from 10 to 4. And the interns get to circulate around all of the work sites. They spend about 5 to 7 minutes at each table, just having preliminary conversations, set kind of like an interview process. And so that the interns at the end can pick their top 4 work sites, and then the work sites can pick their top 4 interns, which actually makes Hannah and my job of pairing a lot easier, because you're like, okay, um, Camden picked the Cultural Alliance, and Hannah and Chad said that Camden was their first choice. So it's a perfect pair, done. And we can move on. I believe last year, most every intern got their first or second choice, and the same with work sites. I think there was only a few instances where we had to go to third or fourth choice just because there were some work sites that had a really large number of interns interested. So we had to be a little bit creative. But because of the efforts of the job fair, we only had 2 instances where we had to move interns, and it had nothing to do with the pairing or the work site. One was because the intern was neurodivergent, and it was an open office concept, and they could not handle it. And the second one was just because of distance. The intern was like, the travel time to get from my house to this work site is just impossible. I'm never going to get there on time. So we had to be a little creative with changing that. But for the most part, I would say it was like a 99.8% success rate for pairings with work sites and interns. Just some quick facts about Bloomberg. This year, we're planning on having 80 interns. 100% of the pay comes from the grant, so worksites do not have to worry about paying the interns. And worksites also get paid for taking interns, so it's kind of like a win-win situation for worksites. Once a month, we have check-ins with the supervisors. They'll be checking in with me. We're looking for 40 to 45 work sites this summer. Again, the hourly wage for interns is $17.53, which is a really, really great rate, especially for a 17, 18-year-old. There will be 7 intern workshops and professional development sessions. And so far, we've had over 350 interns from the program's inception in 2015 come through our program, and have been placed at over 50 arts and culture organizations, which is really, really great. Some numbers that we're really, really proud of. Just some dates to remember. February 28th is the last day for interns to apply. The worksite application runs a little bit longer just because we know that some of your organizations do not have your summer schedule solidified yet. So we want to make sure that we give you time to say, okay, this is what we're doing this summer. We can definitely take some interns. April 10th, interns are announced. May 11th is the job fair. And then Hannah and I try to, after the job fair, Hannah and I try to have our pairings done within a week after the job fair. So you will get an email with your interns' contact information and their names. And they will also get your email and your contact information. And then we say, hey, you have about a month before the program starts. Use this time to start building a relationship so that when the interns come on June 24th, they already know you, they're familiar with what's going on, and they're ready to jump in. The first day of professional development for the interns this year is June 24th. So that means June 25th is the first day that they will be on site with you. And then August 15th and 16th is the celebration. Now, usually around the beginning of July, we start having the conversation about the school year, just so they can put it on your radar. The school year runs from October to May, and the interns only get to are only allowed to work 8 hours a week. So it's a little different, but they are with you for almost 8 months, which is great. So for interns that participate in the summer program and the school year program, by the time they finish, they have almost a complete year of professional work under their belt. And we ask that the worksites provide them with a letter of recommendation or reference at the end of the school year program. So they have that and they can take that to potential employers or take that to schools or use that in college applications. Um, so that is about it. I know this has been a lot of information. I'm sure that your heads are spinning and I apologize. But this is the intern application. If you have any juniors that you know of that you think would be great for this internship, you can share this QR code with them, or you can just send them to the Cultural Alliance website, philaculture.org. And then on the homepage, it says Arts Internship. They can click on that and it will take them right to the application. And for Worksites, if you're interested in being a worksite, this is the application form. You can click on that. Like I said, it would take about 20-25 minutes to complete. Depends on how much you want to write. And there is some organizational information that if you do not know off the top of your head, you may have to do some research. But the link to the application for interns is in the chat. And I will actually close this now and stop sharing. And I will put the link for worksite applications in the chat as well. Are there any questions? If there are, you can feel free to unmute yourself. You can raise your hand or you can just throw it into the chat.
Chad, I see a note here from Camden Copeland, a flag on one of our dates. We have it listed on the online as June 19th. So we'll be sure to get that updated. Thank you.
So the reason that we have June 19th is because that's kind of the day where we want all of the interns to have all of their work and everything, all of their, excuse me, paperwork and everything submitted, so that we can say this is our unofficial start date. We do have two orientation days, which are on the 21st and 22nd. So we build in that cushion to make sure that they have all of their paperwork in so that they can start on time. So that's why we've been publishing June 19th, so that in interns' minds, like, okay, the program starts June 19th, we can get everything in. So we've kind of built in a few days buffer to make sure that the interns are ready to go.
Cool, thanks. I just wanted to make sure that I had the correct information on our website. And then when I'm reaching out to supervisors, I just wasn't sure like when the actual start date for like them on site would be. But now I know it's the June 25th.
Yes, June 25th is the first day for interns at the worksite.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
No worries. So anything before the 25th, don't worry about. That's on Hannah and I. On the 25th, the interns are all yours, and then Hannah and I run for the hills. And no, just kidding. But the 25th is when the interns will be on site.
We got a good question from John Graves. It was a direct message, why it's not in the chat. Is it possible to edit applications after they've been submitted? This is the first time I've had this question, so thank you, John.
It is. So once you submit the application, if you realize that, you know what, what I wrote is completely wrong, I want to change it, you can just let Hannah or I know, and you can just send us like this is the part that we want to change. You can just email that to us, and then we can go in and we can make the change in the application. We understand that, in all honesty, your applications are kind of a living, breathing document. We understand that things change, projects change, organizations change. So, like I said, it's just for us to kind of get a better overview of your organization and know that you have a project in mind. We understand that things might change. So, if for whatever reason you submit your application, like, you know what, I need to completely change everything, we can either delete your application, you can fill it out again, or you can just tell us the parts that you want to change individually, and we can do that as well. So Salvatore asked that if an organization takes the week of July 4th off, is that going to deter them from being a work site? No, it won't. Historically, the program has only taken July 4th off. We've had some work sites in the past take the 3rd and the 5th off, so they have 3 days off. Um, we would ask that if you are going to take, for Worksite does take off the entire week, that they provide some kind of remote work that the interns could work on during that time so they could still earn hours that week. We would just ask that any remote work that Worksites provide for their interns, that it's something that they can actually track and say, you know what, yep, they did it. I'm going to give them their 7 hours for this day because they turned this in. We definitely don't want a situation where the intern is claiming 7 hours of work, but hasn't done 7 hours worth of work. We want to make sure that they are actually working and that they are providing proof of their work to you. But just because a work site is off for the week of July 4th doesn't mean that they would not be asked to be a work site. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much for coming out. I know that it was a lot of information, and if at any time you realize that you have a few questions, feel free to reach out to Hannah or myself. Like I said, we will be posting this recording on our YouTube channel and sending out the link through our social media. So feel free to check it out, watch it again to get anything that you missed. If you have very specific questions about your specific organization, feel free to reach out to us directly, and we can make sure that we get the answer to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'm hoping that everyone in this room applies to be a worksite. Again, it's great to see some familiar faces and all the new faces. Thank you so much for your interest in helping make BAI 24 a success. We wish you all a wonderful afternoon, and we look forward to seeing your applications. Have a great afternoon, everyone.